Hello cuties, I'm Mags and here's a 25-minute guide to Heroic Horridon. I will be covering the heroic mechanics on this encounter, and I'm going to assume that you guys have done this encounter in normal mode, so I will not be covering most of the normal mode abilities. For this encounter, you'll want to bring 2 to 3 tanks and 5 to 6 healers. We use 3 tanks and 6 healers in our kill. The more tanks and healers you add, the more stability you will have throughout the encounter, but you will also increase the length of the fight, which will mean that Horridon will most likely berserk on you. However, his berserk is not that big of a deal because he wastes a lot of time using double swipe, and he will also not gain a movement speed increase during berserk, so you have about a full minute to kill him before he uses his last dire call to kill you. The 2 abilities added to heroic mode in this encounter is Dire Call and Dire Fixation. We'll cover Dire Call first. Horridon uses Dire Call every 60 seconds and it deals 270,000 physical damage while increasing attack speed of the adds by 50% for a short duration. Dire Call is used throughout the entire fight and is something healers have to pay attention to make sure that no one is low on health right before it's being used. Also, its damage is physical, so Hand of Protection will completely negate its damage, and other cooldowns can and should be used to mitigate as much damage from it as possible. The second ability happens after every single Dire Call is cast. 2 random players in the raid, starting with ranged DPS, gets a debuff called Direhorn Fixation. This will spawn a pink transparent dinosaur that will walk slowly towards the player it fixes on. If it reaches that player, he will take a massive amount of physical damage. Basically how you deal with this is pretty simple. All you have to do is you make sure you keep an eye on where your dinosaur is at and you attack it whenever it's in range to knock it back. If you are a pet class, you can send your pet on a dinosaur as well that will keep knocking dinosaur back until your pet despawns, and you can rinse and repeat that. If you're not a pet class, you obviously just have to pay attention to pink dinosaur and make sure it never comes close to you. Another thing to mention about this pink dinosaur is that you can only see your own pink dinosaur when you are fixated. Towards the end of the fight, when lots of people have a debuff, you cannot see their dinosaur, so you don't have to worry about seeing a bunch of dinosaurs up at the same time. Also, I'll put a macro down in the description how to easily target your own dinosaur and knock it back. Alright, so let's get to the strategy of each gate and the final phase. One thing every gate has in common is that as soon as dynamo spawns, you should have most of your DPS swap to it to get it down to half health as soon as possible, so you can use the orb it drops to close the gates. Don't forget that while you are channeling the orb, you can still move around, so sitting on a sand trap obviously is not a good idea. Second, every gate has an ad that will spawn something on the ground, so what you want to do is you want your tanks to slowly move the ads backward as you're tanking them towards the next gate. This will buy the melee DPS some time to move out of the sand traps and all that other bad stuff, but also make it all easier and they won't die as much. Third, there's something to kick on almost every single gate, excluding gate 3. You need to make sure you kick this, whether it's a poison, fireball, or something like that. A fireball combined with Dire Call, for example, will pretty much kill anyone immediately, so that's something you gotta watch out for. First gate is the Farraki gate. What you need to do here is you need to make sure that you kill the Waste Walkers as fast as possible while AoEing the rest of the ads down. The Waste Walkers had the Blazing Sunlight debuff that they will put on most likely melee, that has to be dispelled. Massive Spell works great for this, and they will also put down Sand Trap, which does approximately about double damage, 200,000 per second to anyone that sits in it compared to normal mode. That's very deadly. If your melee has problems staying alive on this gate, it is advisable that you tank the ads away from the wall so that the melee can have their camera angled better and not be stuck at the wall to die from sand traps and such. So to recap on this Farraki gate, all you have to do is don't stand in sand traps, dispel Blazing Sunlight off people, tank the ads away from the wall so you may have an easier time with camera angles. Kill the Waste Walkers first as you are AoEing the rest of the ads down. As soon as Dynamo spawns, get them to half health, click on the orb to channel it to break the gate. So the next gate is the Gurubashi gate. There's a few things you need to look out for here. First of all, the Rending Charge ability cast by Bloodlords coupled with the Venom Bolt volley from Venom Priest will do a lot of dot damage. A Paladin's Hand of Purity will mitigate a lot of this damage. Make sure you kill the Venom Priest as fast as possible and prioritize killing them over the Bloodlords, and kick every Venom Bolt volley they try to cast. Eventually, the Venom Priest will spawn Venom's Effusions. Make sure you don't stand close to these when they spawn, as they drop living poison on the ground, as can be seen here. This poison is very deadly and will kill anyone standing in it. Also, make sure you kick the Effusions when they try to cast Venom Bolt volley. As with the first gate, don't tank the ads by the wall so melee have an easier time to get a better camera angle. If you have problems interrupting the Venom Bolt volley cast by the Venom Priest and the Venom Effusions, what you can do is having a Misery Monk use his survival skill to clear the poison stacks real quick. Once the area you tank the adds in fills up with poison, you want to slowly move them back towards the next gate. To recap on this gate, watch out for double dot debuff, rending charge and venom bolt volley, and use Hand of Purity Fable. Prioritize killing Venom Priest first, while AoEing the rest of the adds down. Make sure you lock down Venom Priest and Venom Infusions by kicking all their Venom Bolt volley casts. And of course, don't send in poison. Besides that, don't tank the adds by the wall for melee to get a better camera angle, as with the previous gate. And once there's enough living poison on the ground, slowly start moving the adds backwards towards the next gate to get yourself some more room. And of course, once the Dynamax is down, get up to half health to click on the orb to destroy the gate. The third gate is the Drakkari gate. As with the other gates, there will be one add that you want to prioritize killing over the other adds, and that is the Drakkari Frozen Warlord. Make sure you kill the Warlords whenever they come down and just AoE down the rest of the adds. Don't forget that the Drakkari Warrior and Champion cannot be tanked and will randomly pick targets to attack, and also don't forget that you can stun them. Make sure you dispel the deadly plague disease that comes from those adds too. The Warlords will drop a Frozen Orb, which you can see here. All you have to do is slowly back away towards the next gate whenever they drop these orbs. Healers need to watch out for Mortal Strike from the Warlords onto tanks, it will do a lot of damage. And to recap this gate, as with the first gate, this gate is pretty easy. There will be champions and warriors running around attacking random players, stun these and just 8 them down, and make sure you prioritize killing the Warlords. Dispel the deadly plague disease as it infects the raid. Whenever a Warlord drops a Frozen Orb, slowly start heading towards the next gate to avoid damage. As with the other gates, don't tank the adds by the wall to make it easy for melee, and of course, when a Dynamax spawns, get them to half health, activate the orb to destroy the gate. The last gate is the Amani gate, and is generally the most difficult gate. There's a few things to watch out for here. The flame casters will chain cast Fireball, which hits for about 200,000 fire damage. The Warbears have a frontal cone swipe, so tank them away from the raid. The Beast Shamans that rides those Warbears will cast Chain Lightning even when riding on the Warbears, but that is being nerfed in patch 5.3. The Chain Lightning will jump to 2 targets, so make sure to spread out. The Shamans will also cast Hex of Confusion on 5 random targets, which is a curse that needs to be dispelled as soon as possible, and will also drop Lightning Nova Totem close to them, which pulls every 2 seconds for a lot of damage. However, they will only use these 2 abilities when they're not on a Warbear. There's a few ways to deal with this. You can spread out and just AoE everything down with focus on the Warbears and the Beast Shamans while kicking the Flamecast Fireballs, or you can have your range TP a single target down 1 Warbear at a time, while you have your melee interrupting and killing the Flamecasters. Once the Warbear is dead, the Shaman on its back will jump off and you can go to kill that Shaman, rinse and repeat. This is the strat we opted for. It's a bit slower than AoEing everything down, but it offered more control over this part of the fight. To recap this last gate, make sure that you kick the Flamecasters casting Fireball, spread out for 5 yards for Chain Lightning, tank the Warbears away from the raid so no one gets cleaved, and if you get the Hex Confusion curse, make sure you stop using abilities if you're low on health until someone removes the curse from you. Watch out for Lightning Nova Totem as well, and never stand close to them. And as with the other gates, don't tank the adds close to the wall for the melee to have a better camera angle. And when a Dynamax spawns, you guessed it, get the half health, get the orbital quick, and destroy the gates. Once you have destroyed the last gate, you will have a little bit of time before Warlord Jalak comes into play, so make sure you kill off any remaining adds and then position the boss in the middle of the room with everyone but the tank stacking on the side of the boss. When Jalak comes down, tank him right by the boss, so that everyone can attack Jalak without having to move away. This is the time we use Heroism. Make sure you kill Jalak as fast as possible. He will use his bestial cry every 10 seconds or so, and shouldn't get more than 3 or 4 of them off, or else he'll get very deadly. One thing to watch out for here is the first direct call that happens in his phase. He will normally line up right after or right before a bestial cry, as you can see here. For this, you will need some heavy healing and a raid cooldown to mitigate as much damage as possible. Once Jalak is dead, Horridon will deal double damage and attack faster. This will make Direct Call do just over 500,000 physical damage, so you need to make sure to have some sort of damage mitigation for each Direct Call at this point. Smoke Bomb, Demoralizing Banner, Spirit Link Totem, Power Barrier, Spirit Shell, Rallying Cry all works really well here to make sure no one dies from Direct Call. You can also use a Hand of Protection on the tank right as Direct Call happens to make sure the tank takes less damage. Don't forget that Direct Call is also only cast once per minute, so after each Direct Call, don't have your healers freak out and try to heal the raid to full as soon as possible. You'll have a full minute to heal up the raid, and the tanks at this point will take a lot of damage, so make sure you keep your tanks healthy. Besides that, you have to make sure that you keep an eye on your pink pony dinosaur, keep it knocked back, and make sure it never comes to you. Whenever someone gets charged by the boss, the player should move either right or left as fast as possible, so that you don't have the entire raid moving for one player. This is it for this guide. If you have any questions or comments, you can PM me here in-game or leave a comment below. I hope you enjoyed the guide.